And then I had two people I wanted to play it, who I really wanted to, and I'd say if they had said leave it alone, I would have binned it. It was Tom Newman and Simon Hayworth, both who were involved in the original making of Tubular Bells. You know, Tom was very closely involved in the production, and Simon in the engineering and mixing. And you know, so there was a bit of a moment when I tracked them down and sent them a rough version of side one again, just to see what they made of it. And Simon came back first, and he just couldn't believe, you know, how good it was. And he said he played it, and he closed his eyes, and he was back in the Manor in 1973, and he was like, "Oh, all right, okay." But again, you know, he thought he stood up really well, and he said he was really well executed, and it was well played and sounded amazing and everything. So that was great. And then with Tom, I sent him the copy, and he sort of came back and he said, yeah, it sounds like Mike a little bit, and it's, you know, it's okay, it's good, you know, it's well done and everything. I thought, you know. And then I wrote back and said thank you, and I said, you know, would you be up for sort of executive producer? Would you just sort of listen to it and give me some notes, you know, some rough notes about it, just any thoughts you had on the sort of mix or the arrangements? And he said, yeah, you know, I'll gladly do that. And then the next email was like, oh, I played it, and it's really, really good. In fact, it's really good, and you know, I'd love to get involved in it. So I was like really chuffed, and so we spoke on the phone. And again, he said, you know, it does sound like Mike Oldfield, but the melodies are so good and it's so well done that it stands up on its own, and that's exactly what I wanted. And so he said, you know, he would love to get involved in the sort of mix and a couple of production ideas. But the album was nearly finished, so I didn't want to, you know, send everything over, and you know, I don't want to. Because it didn't need that. It didn't need to be completely ripped apart. He needed the extra 20% on him. So I sent over a stereo mix without all the guitars and any lead instrument, and he had them separately. And then he could work on the sound and the sort of timing and the feel and the ambience of all the lead instruments. And then he'd send them back, and I'd slot them in, and I just couldn't believe the sound when they came back. Because he said, oh, the guitars they're not sort of, what do you say, they're not soaring over the mix. And that's exactly what they did when they came back. The guitars were just incredible sound on them. I don't know what he did to them, but they just sounded lovely, all the lead instruments, and they really took off over the top of this, you know, the backing track. And also I sent him all the sort of lead vocals, and he'd sort of moved them a little bit around, and again with ambience and effects and stuff. And there was a couple of sections where some of his ideas were just, I would never have thought of, and it just made it all work. So that was invaluable, you know. I think he really brought a lot to the sort of arrangements and the sound and everything. But then it was just his, you know, whenever my morale was a bit down, it was just his encouragement, and because he's been through it all and done it all, it was great to sort of send him ideas, and, you know, and say, oh, well, what do you think about this? What do you think about that? And he's, you know, he was so helpful, which is amazing.